All righty. Based on all the chatting, it sounds like there were a lot of great conversations. I know we had some great conversations on at our table. It's amazing how many people are from rural parts of the Pacific Northwest. I got to tell you that. It's really interesting. So now we're going to hear from WSOS's Executive Director, Kimber Connors.
Technology is demanding a workforce trained in STEM, healthcare, and trade industries. 7 in 10 of these jobs will require post-high school training, yet just half of Washington state adults
Thank you so much. As Heather said, I'm Kimber Connors. I'm the Executive Director for WSOS. And at 36 weeks pregnant, I wasn't actually sure I was going to be here on the stage with you today. But I'm so glad that nature cooperated, because it's been since 2019 since we've seen so many students, partners, volunteers, supporters just in the same space. It's incredibly inspiring. So I'm glad that I'm able to be here with you all. And also, thank you for being here instead of at home in your fuzzy slippers, because I know that in this remote work environment that we all live in, that was probably a real option for many of you. We're so lucky to live in a state with high potential people with the drive to excel, companies doing innovative, cutting-edge work, and people like you ready to do your part so that we can build a better future together. We need each of you in the room, plus thousands of others across the state, to join us, because we're in crisis mode. Washington will add about 400,000 new jobs in the next 5 years, but 70% of those jobs will require a post-high school education. Yet last month, the Seattle Times shared some startling data with us. We knew that the pandemic hurt enrollment in higher education, but it's actually worse than we thought. Just 50% of Washington's 2021 high school graduates enrolled in a 2- or 4-year college within a year of graduation. That's nearly a 10% drop in enrollment since we were last in this ballroom in 2019. And Washington's enrollment rate is actually much lower than the national average at 63%. So if most of the jobs in our state require a post-high school education, why aren't students going to college? A study from the Washington Roundtable and Kinetic West found 3 main reasons: the high cost, the stress of applying, and uncertainty about what to study. These are the barriers for our students, which are stacked highest against first-generation college students, low-income students, rural students, and students of color. So what does that mean for us? those of us in the room who have the power to do something. It's our call to action. Together, we can affect change and knock down these barriers for those students. So let's talk about that first barrier, the high cost of college. Like the governor mentioned earlier, Washington has one of the most robust financial aid systems in the United States, supporting students through programs like the Washington College Grant. And WSOS is a critical piece of that puzzle, where students can stack their financial aid. They can use the Washington College Grant to offset tuition, but use WSOS to offset other costs of going to college, like housing and food. The second barrier in the study was the stress of applying to college, especially for students who are the first in their family to attend, like 67% of Opportunity scholars. At WSOS, help removing the stress of applying means making our own application accessible and straightforward. It also means partnering with the Washington Student Achievement Council, who I know is in the room today, to promote FAFSA and WASFA completion. And it means building solid regional partnerships so that students hear the message from adults that they trust that our scholarship and college are for them. The third and final barrier to college was figuring out what to study. I don't know about you, but I remember being 18, I could barely choose which shoes to wear, let alone what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. We need to help students understand that not all programs of study have the same job prospects. So by focusing WSOS on living wage, high demand programs, we encourage scholars to pursue credentials that will prepare them for the jobs that are always hiring right here at home. We also need to help students understand that not all living wage, high demand jobs require a bachelor's degree. That's why WSOS supports programs including apprenticeships, certificates, and associate degrees. WSOS has a key role to play in fighting the drop in college enrollment rates in Washington state. We have an ambitious plan to serve 35,000 students by 2030. We could fill the Climate Pledge Arena twice with that many people. So imagine going to a Kraken game where there are 2 times the stadium full of people that have all been supported by this program by 2030. And in this work, we know the state will steadfastly match every dollar because they know the future depends on having skilled workers to power our economy. Founding partners like Microsoft, Boeing, the Rubens Family Foundation, and Balmer Group have all renewed commitments to Opportunity Scholarship because they want local students to be hired into well-paid, fulfilling jobs that make it possible to live in the beautiful but very expensive city like Seattle. Statistics are great, but they can't hold a candle to the real people behind them, the bright, capable students whose dreams propel forward with the support they receive from people in this room. I'm honored to introduce Joanna Edwards, a fantastic Opportunity Scholar pursuing her automotive technology degree.
When I was a teenager, I went to school because they served free breakfast. I struggled to survive in a real way, and it was rough. I used to go down to the lake every day because that felt like my safe space, and pretty crazy, right? My safe space is school now. School. I feel safe here. I can go to class without anxiety. I built bonds with my classmates and teachers. And when I started, I was terrified because I wasn't sure if I fit someone like me who felt so different. I wasn't sure if it was going to work, and it did, and I wasn't as different as I thought. I wanted to make my kids proud, and so I decided I was going to go into automotive technology because I kind of have a past with cars, and I wanted to do some good in the community. Otherwise, I would have been sentencing my kids to the same life that I had, and I will not do that. I won't. I just kept putting one foot in front of the other. I had no idea what I was doing. I Googled how to get into school. I didn't have mentors or family or brothers, sisters, anything like that really to turn to. It was never easy. Not one moment of it, but it was worth it. And I'd do it again. Section 8 mom, you know? And I did not want to be that Section 8 mom. I wanted to be more. I wanted to show them that no matter what happens, just keep moving forward. My kids' grades got better when I started school, and they just strive for their grades now. And that's because they saw me put everything that I had into my craft. Because when I got here, I didn't know a ratchet from an open-ended wrench. Failure was not an option once we got started.
I don't know the difference between
And
those.
I just didn't think that I was going to smash it. I just was like, we're going to pass no matter what. I just didn't think I was going to get 4.0s. When I won the scholarship, it was monumental for me. It gave me the opportunity I was never afforded as a child in the system, to be able to see how far I could go, to show the world what a scholarship, what an opportunity can do for someone. Someone like me, someone who didn't even have food, someone who didn't have shoes, someone who didn't have family, someone who just needed someone to give them a hand up. It meant a lot to me. This college experience has given me the gift of trusting in myself, knowing that the next step I make is going to be my best step. My name is Joanna Edwards, and I am a mom and an aspiring automotive technician. I go to South Seattle College, and I am a first generation automotive college athlete.
Wow, I had not seen that video, and now I wish I had because I would have brought tissues to the stage. How incredible. I am honored to be able to share that Joanna just graduated from South Seattle College. With an associate's degree in applied science automotive technology. She's also recently started a new job as of April 10th as an automotive technician for Toyota of Kirkland. Woo! And Joanna and her lovely family are here with us today. Joanna and family, please stand. Woo! Right back here. Woo! What a great mom. Scholars like Joanna are why we are here today. As Kimber mentioned earlier, WSOS has ambitious plans to serve 35,000 students by 2030, which is just not that far away, and we need your help to do so. I'm excited to introduce our next speaker, who joins us from Bristol Myers Squibb, an organization that has long been committed to helping start those chain reactions that we talked about before. They've contributed nearly $400,000 in support to date, as well as being a key partner in recruiting mentors for Opportunity Scholars. We're very pleased to welcome P.V. Sivakumar as a scientist at Bristol Myers Squibb to the stage.
Hi, everybody. Thanks, Heather, and thanks, WSOS, for this absolutely inspiring event and for the opportunity you provide to all these scholars. And thanks, Joanna, for this inspiring story out there. Congratulations. And thank you all for being here today. You've taken the first step here to be part of this amazing journey and this innovative organization. So my name is Pallavur Sivakumar. There'll be a quiz. If you don't pronounce that right, you cannot leave this place. I go by PV, and I'm a scientist at an innovative organization, Bristol Myers Squibb, where over the last 8 years, I've gotten to basically pursue my passion and my dream, working with an inspiring set of amazing scientists to basically redirect the immune system to kill cancer, right? But I'm here today to really talk about my other passion, which is WSOS, and the impact that they've had on the lives of so many students here in the state of Washington. And why is that? I grew up in India in a middle-class family, and I suffered from multiple tropical diseases that most of you probably have just read in your medical books. Measles, malaria, typhoid, mumps, hepatitis A. People thought I was immunodeficient. My favorite uncle was immunodeficient. So in 7th grade, basically, I found a Scientific American article in our library that spoke about the immune system, and I made a decision that I wanted to become an immunologist and learn to use the immune system to cure human disease. And the only reason why I'm here today in front of you is because of the opportunity that was provided to me to pursue this dream by my parents. Despite their financial constraints, they prioritized education as their highest priority. That was the number one thing. It doesn't matter whether you played sports or not. Education was number one. And they saved enough to put me through one of the best colleges in India and allowed me to come to the US in 1992 with $200 in my pocket. The thing is, I was the lucky one. There were so many of my peers back home who were smarter than me, who dreamt great dreams, who never got this, either because they had financial constraints, of their family situation, or purely their expectations were different. Education was not prioritized. That is why my employer, Bristol Myers Squibb, and I are committed to and fully support the vision and the mission of WSOS, because they basically provide both financial and development opportunities to the next generation of students here in Washington. We know that the next generation of students basically are going to discover the new medicines that Bristol Myers Squibb or the new technologies that Microsoft or others can do. And we know the impact that these people are going to have on our community. I am really, really proud to be a donor and a volunteer, and I hope soon to be a mentor. So I'm here right now today to ask you to join me in making a contribution to this mission of WSOS, so you basically can help support the next generation of Washington scholars sitting here in this room and the future workforce in Washington State, because our future depends on it. So thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing, PV. And Joanna, your story was so powerful. Thank you. This is the part where we get to all come together to make this happen for many more students around Washington State. And when we were sitting at the tables earlier, it was so powerful to hear just the stories around our own table of those moments when education opened the doors to the futures that brought us all here. Many of us have a lot of good fortune. Many of us here now have a lot of privilege. And many of us have the opportunity to do those, to effect those changes and to invest in the kinds of stories that Joanna shared and that we're about to hear about after this moment from our keynote. So I am thrilled to invite you all to do what you came here to do, which is to have your table captains share these lovely cards that are sitting at your table that I'm holding up here. And technology, during the last few years, we've all gotten very comfortable with QR codes. And you can also scan the QR codes on your phones to make a contribution. So if you look at the web address, I have it here that you can type it out. You can look at the web address on your tables, on the QR codes. You can scan it, and you can visit the secure web page where you can donate with your credit card, and you'll receive a receipt, which is useful. So you'll also receive a receipt. And I encourage you all, table captains, please distribute those. And as we're doing that, think about the stories, think about Joanna's story, think about the many, many people here in this room who shared their stories at your tables, where education has really opened up, really, really, truly opened up the opportunities that have brought us here. So the pens are inside. Please pass those around. As you consider your donation, this is really important. Every dollar will be matched. So I ask you to provide a meaningful amount. The Challenge Fund, every contribution over $250 will be matched by the Challenge Fund. and then it'll be matched again by the state of Washington until all the funds are exhausted. So that means if you give $250, the math got a little complicated for me, but if you give $250, it actually becomes $1,000. So there's two multipliers in there. So $250 becomes $1,000. $1,000, which becomes $4,000. $10,000 becomes $40,000. I'm going to contribute $5,000. That'll become $20,000. If you'd like to join me at that level, I would invite you to. So as you know, you can always add an extra zero. I don't know what that does to the math, because it looks like your gifts get multiplied by 4, which is a great multiplier. So I can encourage you to think about your gift and your contribution. I was thinking at the table as you're doing this, there's someone at my table named Jill who I was speaking with earlier, and she made this point in our conversation that she remembered when she got this $250 scholarship when she was thinking about applying to college. I remember that too. I remember this $500 scholarship I got when I was like 17 or 18 from, I think, like the Masonic Temple in Whatcom County. And it totally, totally changed my outlook. I remember thinking that here was someone who, I grew up in a very rural area, similar to Heather, had kind of hippie parents, grew up in a rural part of Washington State. And that experience of just having someone believe in me and give a $500 scholarship really made me think that others would believe in me too, and help to advance my own education, which entirely changed my own life. So the Washington Opportunity Scholarship is doing more than that. You can help invest in that. So I really encourage you all to think big, dream big, help invest in more stories like Joanna's. So I think that this is all happening. So it looks like the table captains, folks have made their contributions. I shared the multiplier. So I thank you all for your generosity. So as you wrap up, table captains, please collect those. Please collect those contribution cards. And I just want to thank everyone for helping create a chain reaction for scholars in Washington State, for investing in the Scholarship Opportunity Program. And without further ado, I'm going to introduce someone who I got to see their remarks a little bit beforehand, and I'm so excited to introduce her. But I'm introducing Mickey Ruiz. And the journey Mickey is about to take you on is a great example of the caliber of scholars you support when you support WSOS. Mickey is an Opportunity Scholarship alum. She is directly paying it forward in her own community. She's a living example of how an investment in a scholar like Mickey can have a ripple effect in communities across the state. Today, Mickey is a research technician at the Department of Pharmacology at the University of Washington. A lot of University of Washington alums here today, a lot of partners from the UW. And she's the co-founder and director of Feedback. So let's welcome her to the stage. Thank you, Mickey.
No, thank you.
Thank you.
It all started during the winter quarter of 2020, just a few weeks before the university was shut down due to COVID. Casey, Nana King, Kim, and myself were all sophomores studying in the life science building on campus, cramming our brains with the knowledge about packaging and transportation of proteins in a cell for our biology final exam the next morning. Per usual, all of us were actually practicing what I like to call productive procrastination. Basically, instead of actually doing the work we were supposed to do, we decided to be productive in other aspects of our life, like responding to emails, or in this specific case, reflecting on the disproportionalities that are represented amongst underrepresented minorities in STEM, and how institutions were designed to be against us. All of us came from marginalized communities or had immigrant parents that were not able to prepare us at all for the challenges and obstacles we had to face coming to a huge institution such as UW. With all of us identifying as an underrepresented minority, we all shared similar experiences of people telling us we were not capable of achieving our goals in STEM due to stereotypes, misconceptions about our upbringings. In all reality, if it were not for amazing programs aimed at diversity, equity, and inclusion that we were all a part of together, most of us would have never stayed on the STEM track or even graduated college. During this session, we threw out so many ideas with the overarching goal that we wanted to somehow bridge a connection to the youth to guide them to their own success. Like I said, we were all productively procrastinating, so Kim was looking through her emails and saw that there was a grant opportunity for small projects to get funded. Jokingly, we were all hyping ourselves up, saying that we could apply for the grant with our $1 million idea. Well, one thing led to another. I reached out to my laboratory mentor at the time, Kendon, proposed the idea to him. We got institutional backing from the School of Pharmacy, and then during spring of 2020, we were announced one of the grant recipients. Thank you. Now we really had to turn our ambitious ideas into reality, and I had the privilege of leading it. All of us knew how to be researchers and full-time college students, not necessarily educators, or had any familiarity with what it took to start a program, but I would like to say we did a great job. Before I introduce the title of my program, I apologize in advance for being an extremely long name. At the time, it sounded like a great idea. Fostering educational excitement designed for bold and academically curious kids, otherwise known as Feedback, was founded on the basis of promoting equitable STEM educational experiences to allow students from rural communities the opportunity to reimagine their possibilities in STEM. As we designed our curriculum, we acknowledged that not every student may want to go into the sciences, but we believe that every student from underrepresented communities deserves the opportunity to access it. The name Feedback came from our basis of strengthening the teacher-student relationship. As you have experienced, your initial peak of interest to a career path may have started because of a great teacher you may have had, or even a great mentor. Teachers are typically the initial point of contact to spark some sort of inspiration to the youth. So we decided we wanted to hone in on this relationship to create a strong foundation for the program. Now imagine a student becomes interested in wanting to be a scientist because their teacher may have taught them about the powerhouse of the cell. A student becomes inspired by them, then decides that they too want to graduate from high school to attain higher education and maybe one day become a scientist. After the student graduates, after the student graduates, they then too want to give back to their communities with the knowledge and networking they have made, becoming a teacher themselves in some aspect, just like a feedback loop. This is our feedback loop model and the very base foundation of what we try to do. Given that we created the program to specifically target students from underrepresented communities, we believe the best place to start or to pilot the program was my hometown, Toppenish, specifically Toppenish Middle School, because we believe that sparking interest in STEM starts young. Our first obstacle was tackling how to actually reach these students in the first place. I am sure most of you do not know what Toppenish is like, but to briefly put it, think of real-life cowboys, rodeos, and an area that thrives in the agriculture sector. Toppenish's slogan is literally where the Wild West still lives. Toppenish is also 3 hours away from Seattle, and the state of the world was still recovering from COVID and transitioning slowly to normal life. So because of this, we decided that the best way to conduct our program would be virtually. There were lots of obstacles we had to face during our pilot year last year, but somehow we still successfully managed to have 7 students participate through the program for 20 weeks. This year, we are serving 5th through 12th graders at Toppenish. We now have over 40 students in participation with 20 mentors. This year, we cut the program down to 2 sessions, an 8-week program and a 12-week program. The reason for the 2 sessions is that we wanted to create the most equitable program by tailoring it to fit the school's specific needs. Utilizing the power of representation in STEM, we pair our students with a current undergraduate or graduate student majoring or seeking a career in any STEM disciplines such as bioengineering, public health, biochemistry, and many more. With the pairing of our mentors, our emphasis is to recruit individuals that share similar identities as the mentees, but as well as cultural backgrounds. This allows mentees to visualize themselves in a position of higher education and acknowledge that they too are able to achieve greatness regardless of their financial barriers or even unfamiliarity with college access. At the moment, the demographics of the students we serve are Latino, Hispanic, and Native American. Many of our students have parents working in agriculture as field workers or warehouse workers, and like myself, do not have the privilege to seek guidance from their own parents with academic assistance or career exploration. In order to address this, we incorporate various panels throughout the session that consist of medical school students, current physicians, graduate students, and even undergraduate students that are former Toppenish alum. This provides students with the opportunity to ask questions and gain exposure to diverse STEM fields. Giving students the opportunity to speak to those who grew up from the same community can also aid them in envisioning their own success. We have also partnered with various departments amongst the university to expose our students to current cutting-edge research amongst regenerative medicine, pharmacology, and ways that engineering and technology are used in research through in-person workshops, Q&A sessions, and presentations by principal investigators of various labs. On top of all the resources that we provide to our students, we also provide them with the opportunity to not only conduct their own research, but also present it at our research symposium. Our 5th grade students focus on posing a correlational study of their choice, draw conclusions from the data, and how they would conduct it differently in the future. This year, we had some students ask whether energy levels correlate with the number of sleep someone has, or if the number of hours watching TikTok correlates with how long they watch YouTube. For our middle school and high school students, they have the opportunity to become experts on a topic that they are most curious about. This year, a few examples of student projects are video games and their involvement in the brain, and an examination of how the development of the brain is altered due to substance use abuse. We are providing the students the space and opportunity to allow them to expand their knowledge and strengthen their critical thinking skills. Ultimately, we hope that our efforts will aid in strengthening their own inspiration to seek higher education and push the limits of their own success. I would like to start off by thanking everyone involved in Feedback's team, some of whom are here today. Fabian Mares, I don't know if you want to stand. Angela Sarchi. Anaí Villanueva. My lab mentor, Kendon. Emily Ramirez and Nayeli Rivas Ramos. I also want to thank the original Feedback team. Most of them could not be here today, but Casey Opio, Nana King Karakari, and Kim Ha. I would also like to thank my parents who are over there and my sister. Thank you. I would like to acknowledge that most of the team, past and present, are also WSOS scholars. It takes a whole team. It takes a whole team, and I could not have done everything by myself. So thank you all for helping me for my vision for change. I would like to thank all of our partners and those in the institution who believe in feedback. And lastly, I would like to thank WSOS, because without the scholarship, I would not have been in a position to attain my own education or even have the opportunity to create feedback. Before I end, I want to tell you a story that happened just a little over a month ago. During the beginning and end sessions of the program, we have our students answer anonymously whether they see themselves going to college, their confidence in attaining a STEM degree, and their general STEM knowledge. We use this data as a metric of success for our program, student effectiveness, and how we can restructure it for future years. During our last workshop, I was helping a 5th grader named Julian. He's the one in the red shirt on the right. I noticed that a question troubled him. He kept shaking his head and saying no. I assumed that he had some issues understanding what the question meant. The question was one that referred to whether or not students see themselves attaining higher education and pursuing college. When I asked him what was wrong or if he needed help answering, he said that going to college was something he couldn't do because his family couldn't afford it. I then asked him to imagine if somehow he got a full ride scholarship, or if money was not an issue, would he then still go to college? He instantly repeated yes. There was no doubt that he would go. Sorry. This scenario plays in my mind constantly. This is a 5th grader, a 10-year-old, who's already worried that he cannot afford college, and quite possibly may already believe that he cannot go to college because of financial barriers. Sorry. I hope feedback grows into a powerful mentoring program that will inspire other first-generation students like me to pursue STEM, and that those same students, like Julian, will become mentors to future cohorts, just like a feedback loop model. There is so much that needs to be done in regards to creating equitable STEM opportunities and diversifying STEM and guiding students to achieve their goals. But with feedback, we are ultimately envisioning change for the future of STEM by inspiring the next generation of leaders. Scholarships like WSOS are a clear representation of what it looks like to break down systematic barriers and provide opportunities to those where college access ceases to exist. It is scholarships like WSOS that will one day allow Julian to attain a college degree. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you, Mickey. Thank you. And thank you for that powerful story and the examples like it that Washington State Opportunity Scholarship is making happen. So I'm thrilled now in closing to welcome a friend, someone I've known for many years, who's the visionary, a supporter, who's been fundamental to making the Washington State Opportunity Scholarship happen. And that's Brad Smith, who's the Microsoft's vice chair, president of Microsoft. So Brad, please come up and join us.
Well, thank you, Brady, and as the chair of the board, in behalf of all of us on the board, let me say thank you, Mickey. That was fantastic. Thank you, Joanna. Your story was inspiring. Thank you, Peavy. Thank you, Brady. Thank you, Heather, for what you did this morning, and thank you, Kimber, not just for this morning, but for each and every day of doing such a wonderful job with such an extraordinary team supporting so many people. You are the ones that make this possible. We've had breakfast in the past, but this is no ordinary breakfast. It's our first time to be back together in person in almost 4 years. And it's worth just reflecting about where we've come from and now where we have the opportunity to go. This program really was given birth on one of the darkest days and one of the deepest downturns in the worst economic recession the country had seen since the 1930s. That was in 2010. And it came together with the recognition that in the short term, the state was going to have to cut its funding at that moment for the public universities and for the students who were attending them. But thanks in many ways to the leadership of Chris Gregoire, then our governor, we also recognized that that moment provided an opportunity to plant new seeds for a brighter future, to create here in Washington State what you could not find in any other state in the country, a program that would bring people together to donate money, to open the doors to college, and have each and every dollar matched by the state itself. There were so many people at the time that didn't think it would be possible. There were so many people at that moment who said the legislature would not follow through. There were so many people who thought it would never amount to something truly important. And yet, 12 years after the legislation was passed and the doors were open to the organization, here we are with the doors to this room open again. And already we've funded scholarships for almost 15,000 students, provided them with almost $130 million of funding. And in so many ways, what's also remarkable is that if you look at the scholars so far, 57% have been women, 67% have been the first in their family to go to college, 70% have been students of color. We truly have reached every corner and county in the state, and as Mickey and Joanna typify, represent for so many, we've opened the doors to college open the minds and possibilities for fifth graders so that they can see that they too can do something that's truly special. But it's not just the money that makes a difference. Along the way, we've discovered some other things thanks to the leadership year over year of such great staff and all of you. Because you can't get into college and pay for it without that funding, but for so many people, you can't succeed without a helping hand. And that's where the mentors, the volunteers, the companies that have created internships have turned this into something that has reached far beyond whatever we thought we could first do. And it's not just about the past. This breakfast is about the future. It's about the future that those of you who are scholars today represent. It's about you. It's about your future. And it's about what we hope you'll do in your future, not just for yourselves, but in helping others who will follow after you. Because we have a bold ambition ahead of us. Our goal, as you've heard, is to double the number of people that we can reach so that by the end of this decade, 30,000 students will have benefited from this program, and they will make our state even a better place. Along the way, we have built a community. This is the community that makes this future possible. So as you leave here this morning, I hope you'll take away a little about this morning with you. Think about how you can help, not just by writing a check or making a donation. Think about how you can help with your time as a volunteer or a mentor, or just even spreading the word. Because I think for all of us, this in so many ways may be year 12, but when you set COVID aside, this is the first day of our second decade, and we only have 7 years to deliver a decade's worth of results. But with the foundation we've built, with the inspiration we've seen, with the opportunity to work together, we have so much more that we can do. Thank you very much for being here.
What a great morning. Thank you, Brad. I want to give it up for the wait staff at the Sheraton who served us breakfast this morning. Thank you all so much. And the stories from Mickey let us leave here within our hearts and in our minds the inspiration of those fifth graders in our lives whose doors can be opened through programs like the Washington State Opportunity Scholarship and through the ambition of doubling the size, as Brad shared. So thank you all for being here. I want to thank you for your support. Thank you to the other featured speakers, to Heather, who had to dash to the airport, but thank you to Heather, and also to the next generation of leaders in Washington State in STEM and healthcare and trades. We can't wait to see what you do, and thank you again for being here with us this morning. So enjoy your days and take some of this inspiration with you.